you.
Sure. Well, first off, welcome everyone on a snowy Wednesday morning. Appreciate everybody's time. We've got quite a reach here, folks from I think across all of Maine tuning in here. So I appreciate all of your time, and I'm going to just jump right into what we're here to talk about today. So as you all know, we have created and convened a task force back in September here in Aroostook County that was established by a resolution from the ACAP board after it became apparent that there was no viable solution at hand after months of exploring more than 30 different locations for additional emergency sheltering of a growing population of individuals that were experiencing homelessness in Aroostook County. So at that board meeting, I was appointed the chair of this task force that convened, and it included across a number of folks across Aroostook County agencies and organizations. And those included ACAP staff and board members, HSA, Homeless Services of Aroostook staff and board members, the County Commissioner's Office, City of Presque Isle leaders and the City Council, Parish of the Precious Blood, Northern Light Health, Cary Medical Center, and the Aroostook Area Agency on Aging. The task force was meeting on a weekly basis to essentially explore and develop solutions to this problem that we were facing here immediately in Presque Isle, but certainly throughout all of Aroostook County, and as the clock was ticking as we were heading into these winter months. Our focus was on keeping Aroostook's homeless population safe and warm during the winter months. And the task force itself explored over 20 vacant facilities and spaces since its convening. We had discussions with municipal leaders, zoning officers, the governor's office, Maine Housing, and the state fire marshal's office, and identified options to consider in choosing a space. HSA, the current provider of homeless shelter services, and ACAP, current provider of resources and referrals to individuals experiencing at-risk housing situations, have joined together to present a solution to this crisis. A plan was established. The plan was to establish a warming center, and this was presented to the Aroostook County Commissioners yesterday through the ARPA funding that the County of Aroostook received, and it was established and approved that we will work with HSA and project partner Aroostook County Action Program to provide warming center services to individuals experiencing homelessness from November through April 1st of this year. The details of the plan include the following. On the HSA side, HSA will continue to first fill vacant beds within their homeless shelter. And then when all the beds are filled, HSA will activate the warming center at the Sister Mary O'Donnell Homelessness Shelter for up to 10 individuals needing a warm place to sleep as temperatures drop. The warming center hours will be from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week. On the ACAP front, ACAP will continue to operate the Hope and Prosperity Resource Center Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m., offering support to access support from employment, housing, healthcare, and other community services. ACAP will also open an overflow warming center when HSA has reached the capacity of 10 individuals and there remains an additional need. And ACAP will also activate extended hours of operation at HPRC to include Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. when individuals are accessing HSA warming center on the previous nights. Before I turn it over to other members of the task force, I just wanted to say a couple of words here. First off, I greatly appreciate everybody's time that was engaged in this process. It was truly a collaborative effort. It was not without its bumps and bruises along its way. This was a very high stress situation for everybody, I think, that was involved here, from local officials to different board agencies and members. And I just am so pleased. You know, we set out with this goal back in September when we realized that this problem wasn't going anywhere and we had to do something before winter came. And, you know, today, as I'm looking out my window here in Presque Isle and seeing, a blanket of snow and more on the way, the timing could not be better of this. And I am just so pleased and grateful for everybody who came together in our community to really show what Aroostook County is all about. This is why this is the greatest place to live. And I just feel so blessed to have so many great colleagues that I worked with in this regard. And I'm looking forward to turning it over to them to hear their comments as well. And so with that, I would like to introduce HSA CEO Lisa McLaughlin, who is here to speak about the work that HSA is doing to meet this critical need as we head into the coldest months of the year. Lisa.
Trey, may I just interject one thing?
Oh, hang on one second. She is on mute.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, Barb.
Okay. Yes. Hi, good morning, Trey. It's a pleasure to see you. And I just want to personally give you a big congratulations on your personal accomplishments. And I believe your accomplishments are our accomplishments, because I'm pleased that you're a representative, and thank you for serving your people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Barb.
Trey, you're on mute still.
Okay, we're good, I think.
So good morning, everyone. And yes, congratulations, Trey, on your successful political movement there. I'm really happy to have been a part of the solution, as our organization, I believe, always has been. And in the past couple of years that I have been here, our staff have stepped up to the plate and have reached more numbers in the shelter than we've ever had in the past. And we're consistently running between 32 and 37 people. The most that we have had in the building was 45. So when the task force was coming together, I offered the solution of trying to use our dining area at 7 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, that was the time that, made the most sense, and working with the task force identified some of those needs. So, this is uncharted territory for our shelter. And as some of you know that you've had the tour of the building, we're using our dining area. We will fold up our tables, and we have purchased bedrolls and sleeping bags so people can come in and not just sit in a chair for 12 hours, but actually be able to rest. And they will get a meal, like a one-dish meal, and be able to have access to the showers. And we will hire a couple more staff, with very grateful and thankful for the county commissioners for helping us be able to do this, because as a small organization as we are limited on our funding. So we're very grateful that has worked out, and I appreciate Jason and Trudy and Trey and all the ACAP staff for continuing to support our organization as well. So I'm not sure how this is all going to turn out. Well, it is a blizzard, or a blizzard coming today. So if someone was unhoused today, we do not have the new staff on yet, because it's going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed. But we could take some people, in, and they would have to obviously sit at a chair or something. We don't have the bedrolls out here yet. So, but we would try to accommodate the best that we could to try to keep them out of the weather. And so I don't know if anybody has any answers. Like I said, uncharted territory. Just keep us in your prayers that everybody stays healthy through this weather. And I'm sure that we will be having meetings to update people as we move forward.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thanks for your engagement throughout this process and all the wonderful work that you folks are doing over at HSA. And we're so grateful to have you in our community here.
Thank you.
So next, I'd like to introduce ACAP Director of Programs, Heidi Ratcliffe, and Heidi's going to speak about ACAP's role and the importance of coming together to bring forward this collaborative response and the significance of it.
Perfect. Thank you, Trey. Thank you. First of all, I'll start by saying that this has been a trajectory. Homelessness has been on our agency's radar for quite some time. As a community action agency, our job is to identify unmet human needs. And that's what we did. We knew firsthand, after providing 2 pop-up shelters during the time of COVID, that we were going to be a part of this solution. And we need to work with HSA to figure out what our role was and how we could bring that to fruition. It's incredibly important to know that this has been an ongoing situation for months. This is a trajectory we've been seeing coming down the road. And there was really no easy solutions. It is, as Trey said, it was bumps and barriers, but the commitment to this group to keep going forward was amazing. And our work is not done yet. I think it's important that everybody know this is going to be a huge community component. You're taking our local homeless shelter, who has on average about 35 individuals utilizing one house. That's a lot of people in a little building. And to think that this is just the beginning, we put a Band-Aid to ensure that everybody was provided a warm place to stay. And that's the first need, right? That's the biggest need that we needed to accomplish. But our work doesn't stop here. And that means having conversations, breaking myths and stereotypes about individuals that experience homelessness, giving someone an opportunity at employment, or even sharing with landlords that maybe it's beneficial on their behalf to rent to somebody experiencing homelessness. Unless we start tackling some of these other pieces, our homeless shelter will remain full. And it's going to be incredibly important that everyone considers what they can bring to the table to start reducing the homelessness in our community. Incredibly proud to work from Aroostook County. I can tell you this is not a statewide issue. This is a nation issue, and our state, our little county is the first to come up with a solution. And it's because of the folks on the screen and that we're working really hard to meet weekly to meet that accomplishment. And just incredibly proud because we might be the northern part of the state, but everybody's looking at us as a model because we were able to come together to find solutions. And unfortunately, there's not solutions in every part of the state. So I think people need to know that because it was working a completely different territory, as Lisa said, and just pushing beyond every barrier that was brought forward. ACAP is prepared and ready to be in action when that time comes. And if the shelter's at capacity and they have filled the 10 extra beds or cots in their dining room, we are ready to engage and provide that additional over space if it comes to that. I'm hoping that it does not come to that, but we're ready for a solution, and we'll be at the table when we get to that point. So I would just encourage everyone to please consider options of ways they can engage in this population and what they can do to contribute to the continued solutions that we're going to find.
Thanks so much, Heidi. And certainly today's a good day, but the work is not done yet. And appreciate your remarks in that regard. We still have a lot of work to do, but this is one step in the right direction. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our County Administrator, Ryan Pelletier, to speak about this being a countywide issue and how the County Commissioners, with the support of several municipalities, have been a critical part of the effort to find a solution here. So I'll turn it over to Ryan.
Thanks, Trey. Yeah, the County Commissioners are very pleased to support this effort. As you mentioned earlier, the meeting was yesterday and very little questions, complete support. Sue Powers from ACAP did an excellent job presenting the request to the commissioners. And like you said, this is a countywide issue, and the commissioners realize that, and we've had great support to do this funding from communities, Holton, Caribou, Presque Isle, Fort Kent. It really was a countywide effort to get this funding approved, and I want to thank all of them for being partners with us in that effort. And I want to thank all of you because, you know, cutting checks and paying things is easy. The work that is really difficult is the work that the task force and the folks at ACAP and HSA have to do. And it's easy for us to invest in these types of projects when we have trust in the people doing the work, and we have the trust here with the people that are doing this work for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. And again, thank you for all your help throughout this process. You were at the table the whole stretch of the way. And so certainly appreciate your engagement and involvement, and ultimately the support of the commissioners as well. Couldn't have done this without you. So I'd like to turn it over now to Martin Puckett. He's the Presque Isle City Manager, and Martin's going to speak to the role that the city played and the importance of all coming together to find a solution here.
Thank you, Trey. Good morning, everyone. To say that we've learned a lot as a community through this process would be an understatement. We've had a lot of conversations with multiple agencies, and we've the barriers that Heidi referenced. There were quite a few, and there's still some that we're looking to overcome. But I think having community discussions involving local officials and definitely looking at this as a regional situation and involving many people at the table has led us to where we are, and hopefully the trajectory of where we're going to be heading with this. Many thanks to Homeless Services of Aroostook and ACAP, the county commissioners and the towns that have supported this, and all the other entities that have really come together to help with the situation. So many thanks. I'm looking forward to looking to overcome the additional barriers that we've discussed and identified. So my hat's off to this group for their continued effort. Many thanks, and look forward to working on this in the future.
Thank you, Martin. And again, thanks to everybody one last time who engaged in this process to get us here today. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all your time and hard work that you put into this. And at this point, we'd like to turn it over to questions from the audience and those who are joining us here today. I do see we're at 100 participants, which is really impressive. And I think that's the max on the Zoom. So conceivably, it was probably more than that had an interest in hearing what's going on, but we'll make sure that this recording is available for folks after the fact.
So if folks have a question, if they could please post those in the chat. I've got a couple already, so I will read the first one to our panelists. And the question from Deborah Gray is, will there be transportation services to the shelter for those out of the PI area or Presque Isle area? And will there be transportation between homeless shelter and ACAP's program? I guess that would be a Lisa and Heidi question.
Start. For our part, we do have a van that we use for transportation. So the Hope and Prosperity Center regularly picks up individuals. We do have a plan that works pretty well right now with HSA. So staff bring down residents that are occupying space at the shelter down to the Hope and Prosperity Center, and then we return those residents. We do have an outreach team and various different programs that work with individuals experiencing homelessness that do have the availability to use transportation to for areas that are stuck and unable to access services. So I would say that there is some availability. It's limited. Obviously, if I don't have staff here at nighttime, I don't have the ability to access and provide transportation for somebody at nighttime, but we do try to meet those barriers when we're able to.
Yes. So
Great. Thank you, Heidi. Lisa, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Typically we don't do outreach, but if somebody calls from the hospital or the police department, maybe the police department could transport them to our shelter, or, get the transportation to us. It's hard because we have so many people in the building, especially the time that they're going to be coming in, which will be 7 at night till, and then in the morning it was a little bit different. We could probably bring them to a place, ACAP or wherever they might want to go. But certainly if we have the staff on the shelter that night, we probably could access them to pick somebody up if they're stuck, depending on how far away they are. So how this all will roll out, thinking that I have reached out to some of my colleagues in other areas that actually have warming shelters. And typically a warming shelter, it's a first come, first serve. So if we had 15 people show up, then we'd take the first 10, and then the other 5 would have to go to overflow, which would be ACAP. So, they start lining up. So that's kind of what the process is going to be, because that's the way it is. And we will identify and track people and try to connect them with rides. Certainly, we want to make sure that nobody's left out in the cold. So we'll do the best that we can.
Thank you, Lisa. I think the next question from Carol Bousquet is best addressed to Ryan Pelletier, and that's how much funding was approved by the county commissioners. Ryan?
Yep. So we approved, I think, just shy of $192,000. That includes the operational support request, and also includes additional funds to provide, I think it was 2 meals, Lisa, a day for anybody in the shelter that needs the warming center services, and also a one-time payment of $3,900, I think, to cover the cost of some additional security cameras because of the location of the entrance at the homeless shelter. And we're going to cut an upfront payment of some amount. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 20-some thousand to HSA to get started. And then there will be demographic information collected each month and submitted to us for reimbursement. So it'll be on a reimbursement process or payment process going forward until April.
Thank you, Ryan. The next question also from Carol is, when will HSA's additional capacity be ready for occupancy? Lisa, I will send that one to you.
So I found out yesterday afternoon that the commissioners had approved. We did have postings for job applicants, and we've been collecting those. Right now, our administrative assistant is in the works for scheduling interviews. And we did have quite a few applicants that specifically were looking for that shift. So that's great. And the bedrolls, everything has been ordered. We can have the cameras will be up, I believe, by the end of this week, the additional camera. And also we're working on securing the back doors so that, but we can still work within those realms. So I'm just saying, you know, so that's not going to stop us from trying to get people in and get them warm, but having those other pieces will definitely be safer. So if somebody came tonight, like I said earlier, you know, we could try to accommodate them if there were 2 people or 3 people, but we have to be careful because I just don't have the manpower for the additional staff yet. But if 3 people showed up, we could handle that. So
Thank you.
that's my answer. So if somebody showed up tonight in the blizzard, then we would put them in they would be in the dining room. So, but we would accommodate them.
Thank you, Lisa. Next question from Stacy Lamoureux. How many people can be housed as overflow at the Hope and Prosperity Resource Center? I will address that one to you, Heidi.
Yeah, so we're looking at anywhere between 25 to 30 as a max.
And Heidi, I'm going to send you with the next question as well, because I know it's been conversation within the Aroostook County Homeless Stakeholder Group. Any thoughts of expanding warming shelters to communities outside of Presque Isle?
You know, it's a great question. In a perfect world, it would be wonderful if every community had a warming center of its sorts. It takes time, resources, and staff. And I think our ability to work with the county commissioners, which supports all of the regions, is the best route that we could take at this time and focus on a central area and use the existing resources that we have already through the partnership with HSA. So I would love to see warming shelters open. At this point, the task force hasn't been targeted with asking that be requested, hoping that we can meet the need here in the Presque Isle area.
I think I'd just add to that I do know that on some evenings, in particular in Holton, because the Holton police chief has been engaged in our efforts, that they are doing warming center activity at the police department in Holton, is our understanding through the police chief, who regularly attends our homeless stakeholder group.
Jason, if I can just add real quick too, that one of the things that I think is really important for folks to understand too, and it's something that I learned throughout this whole process, is that HSA is the only homeless shelter north of Bangor. And so their task is monumental in terms of the geography that they serve. And that's certainly a challenge, you know, regardless of what part of the county you're from. But I just hope that folks are aware of that point, because it is an important one that, you know, folks are coming from all over northern Maine to go to HSA. And so to the extent that we can support them in that effort, I think we are serving countywide clientele in that regard.
Thank you, Trey. I think the next question, Deborah Gray, that has been answered. There is a shuttle vehicle that ACAP operates if there's a need to get individuals that are experiencing homelessness from other parts of the county to here, and or working with HSA. So I would suggest that communities in the distant regions of Aroostook County, or the north and the south, do reach out to either of those organizations if they're having an individual experiencing homelessness who they need to get into sheltering. From Judy Johnborough, what will be the referral process for the warming shelter? I believe that will all go through HSA, but Lisa, I will turn it over to you to confirm.
So again, you know, we're not advertising this, but we know that our stakeholder groups, a lot of people are in key positions and locations where they can refer somebody and just let them know what, you know, that we have that warming shelter in the time frame. So so there's not necessarily a referral, but I'm sure case managers of the police department might call and say, do you have availability, for at your warming shelter? And then we can let them know how many people that we have. There still is a process of coming into our shelter, even though, low barrier, we will be wanding people, checking for weapons, guns, drugs. None of that can come into the building at all. It is a warming shelter, and it's there to keep everybody safe. And so we still will go through that process, and we will also be identifying people and putting them on an Excel spreadsheet, so we are able to share information with ACAP. And so we can better serve the people, because if HSA has available bed, then we can shift people that are homeless if they qualify for either Sister Mary O'Donnell or the Aroostook Bridge. So that's the intent. So if we have the availability, then we can transfer people, and then we can take more people in, more, kind of getting people to move on. So I hope that answered the question. It's not really a application process or anything. It's really is first come, first serve.
Thank you. The next question is, how will this be continued to be funded after the first year? From Sandra Fournier from Mapleton, Castle Hill, and Chapman. Sandra, this group was focused specifically on this year, the Aroostook Homeless Stakeholders Group, which works on the more long-term solutions. That will be continued conversation around that table. And I know that, and if Lisa wants to speak to this, there's work on the part of HSA to look at sheltering facilities, because theirs is well beyond its useful life. Correct, Lisa?
Yeah, so this is a good opportunity for our organization. So I don't know if the 100 people that are on here have heard, but this year the Northern Maine Community College board approved gifting the shelter building to HSA. It's the first time in the history of our organization that we actually have had collateral. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very grateful for the Northern Maine Community Board to have approved this. So this is opening up a lot more doors for our organization. And at our board meeting last night, we were talking about getting together a strategic plan to, find out where we go from here. I think Heidi might have brought this up, is that, yeah, we are located in an old church. I know Ryan had a tour last year, and a few other people have toured. It is quite eye-opening. Galen Weebly from the City of Presque Isle came in and toured the other day. So we're looking at the bigger picture to see how we can better serve the county and grow from there. So really it is exciting times for not just our organization, but for the community to take our little pillar that we have been, housing people all these years, and find out how we can best serve them, and to have people have a better plan, working with working with ACAP and the services that they provide that we can't, to move people to permanent housing. So, there is a whole process, but we're starting here, and it is exciting. So thank you for asking that question.
Deborah Gray, I'm going to defer your next question to Heidi Ratcliffe to follow up on you with you privately in regards to inviting you into the Aroostook Homeless Stakeholder Group, and also to connect with you about some of the housing navigation work that's being done both by ACAP and by the Presque Isle Housing Authority, that are working to work with landlords in particular. So Heidi Ratcliffe will follow up with you on that question, Deborah Gray. Brian Fuller, the question from you is, do we know where the influx of homeless are coming from? Is it a result of the current economy, rising cost of living, government relocation, etc.? Again, I will turn it over to our experts who work with with individuals experiencing homelessness every day, Heidi and Lisa. Heidi, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I continue to say this is the age-old question that we're asked repeatedly, and can say it's the perfect storm. There's not one reason for the influx. We very quickly found that there was the assumption that the influx of individuals experiencing homelessness were from away, because we didn't have that within the county. And so we very quickly started grabbing that data to educate the community, to let them know that that actually wasn't the case. Less than 10% of the individuals were from outside of the state of Maine. And I say that lightly because those individuals will also included residents from the state of Maine itself, not just outside. I think we've had several building fires. We've had employment being an issue. Transportation has been an issue. Gone are the days of what the assumed individual experiencing homelessness looks like. Now we're seeing individuals that are experiencing homelessness for the first time because everything has increased, including rents that landlords have to increase, rightfully so. But our individuals on fixed income don't have that funding source to keep up with the inflation that's existing. Their income is not increasing. Their expenses are increasing. And so we have a huge population that are actually elderly and disabled. There's not enough elderly disabled housing in Aroostook County to meet that demand. So there's genuinely a perfect storm of why homelessness is increasing. And again, it's not a one answer. It's a multitude of situations and reasonings for that. Lisa, if you wanted to add anything to.
Yes, and Heidi is absolutely right. So I went back and checked our census from last year, and it was quite different. We had a lot more younger people last year that were seeking homelessness in 2021. And this year, I just quickly counted. So we have 37 people in our shelter right now, and 14 out of the 37 are above 50 and above. Okay, so 14 people, that leaves 23 for under 50. So that's astonishing to me, and it's an eye opener. So, you know, when you see people that are that age, you would think there are multiple reasons, as Heidi said. Some of them are addiction, some of them are mental health. Some of them they can't afford, they lost their apartment, they lost their job, connected to health concerns, other health concerns, maybe disability. They live on a very small income. So it is very concerning that we're having people 50 and above seeking shelter at our homeless shelter. And I would like to remind people, we are not fully ADA. We have a ramp up the back, and we have upstairs, which is our Sister Mary O'Donnell. Some people don't fit or they don't belong in the Aroostook Bridge program because of the addiction and mental health. But so every now and then we do have one person that we do squeeze in there. We feel it's safe for them, and we keep a close eye because they might not be able to get their wheelchair upstairs, but we do take people with wheelchairs, and we try to accommodate them. So these are the things that we're looking at as we you know, look into our future too. So yeah, that's alarming, the ages.
Thank you, Lisa. The next question comes from Alice Preble. I'm going to address it first to you, Lisa, and then to the task force chair, Trey Stewart, to talk a little bit about the involvement of the faith-based community, because the question is the warming center for individuals only or families as well? And I know that we've had some great conversation around the table of housing families with faith-based, but I'll let you first address the question on, is the warming center for individuals or for families as well?
Yeah, so this is unfortunate because of the low barrier being downstairs, and the warming shelter is actually in the low barrier dining area. Upstairs has their own. So if we reach capacity upstairs and we don't have any beds there, if we had a bed obviously available upstairs, then we would place the family upstairs. But it's really hard if a mother and two children, or a mother and father and a couple children come in, to be in that environment. I would feel extremely uncomfortable because of the drugs and mental health. And so we probably would work with ACAP on that end and try to have those people safely housed, where ACAP has a larger facility access. If there was an overflow, I'm sure that we could come to an arrangement to shelter them, but I wouldn't feel 100% safe to bring children into that environment.
Trey?
And in regards to the engagement with the faith-based community, again, it was mentioned earlier that Parish of the Precious Blood was involved. They were at our table every step of the way as well, and wanted to be a part of an active solution. And I thought I saw Pam somewhere coming in into the Zoom meeting. I'm sure she could speak with more detail about this than I can, but their community wants to be able to fill that need that we'll have if a family does arrive and has no other option to go that would be safe for them. And so for all the reasons that you heard Lisa just mention, and their community has stepped up in a big way, and we had a lot of conversations about when that scenario plays out, what are our alternatives, and some of those would include sheltering them with either members of the church community or at a church location, depending on the circumstance. And so my hat's off to them for understanding the need and wanting to serve and jump in head first, and we certainly appreciate that effort.
Thank you.
Can I just say this, and I'm sorry, because that was a lot of question for me. Had a lot going on in my brain, but I would like to say, yes, the faith-based community has been amazing to HSA in general on a multiple level through the years and still currently today, and they offer so much, and we are so grateful to have them. So I'm really glad that they're being a part of the solution to help us be able to help the families. So thank you.
And Janet Beckwith is joining us from Parish of the Precious Blood, and she might want to address that as well. So Janet, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to thank Senator Stewart for his encouraging comments. And just to let you know, we currently have a young man that's trying to get into the sober living house, and he's homeless. He's been working with him for about a week and a half now, and there just isn't any place for him to stay. And he's in the process of applying for the sober house. He's doing really well, but he continues to be homeless, and he keeps asking if he can stay in the church basement. He's clean and sober and trying very hard to stay that way so that he can be accepted. I'm wondering if we didn't have that positive inspection, we had a lot of issues there. If we went ahead and allowed somebody to sleep in the church basement, is that breaking the law?
Janet, I can connect you with our contact at the fire marshal's office to specifically answer that question for you.
Thank you, Jason.
In regards to this, thanks. Trey, a next question comes from Sarah Wright. Can clients access the warming shelter if they are not permitted to access the homeless shelter? Lisa, I'm going to ask you to chime in on this one.
So that would be yes. And we're not doing background checks on people, and we have to treat it as a warming shelter. And we understand that the low barrier, all of them come with usually some type of a background, and usually there are people who don't. But I will say that, if we did have, we will take people in and we give them a chance, and we have to have that conversation with them, and they have to be on their best behavior, because really we have too many people in there to let things get too wild. So I think usually if you're just open and honest with them, and you just let them know that we can't, tolerate any roughhousing or whatever you want to call it, that they would have to be discharged. But in my past experience, I think usually people are very grateful just to be out of the cold for the night. So I don't really anticipate any problems. And again, just keep us in your prayers, because this is uncharted territory, but everybody deserves to be out of the cold. So we'll do the best that we can.
May have lost Jason. Are you there, Jason? Okay, we are running into some technical difficulties, I think, but I think, and I'm not as good as moderating the chat as he is, going down through the list. I see, looks like Bo has a question. And I think this one's probably best fielded by Lisa. You could probably speak better to what the protocol is here, but what will be the steps taken for those who may have sex offense charges? And will they also have access to the warming shelter?
So yes, they would still be allowed to come in, but there really is no barrier. So I feel comfortable letting them in. We also are having 2 additional staff on to monitor, and with our safety and security, I really don't anticipate any problems. And I think that if people are looking for shelter and the only option is to be outside, I'm sure that they will be comfortable to come in. People do have backgrounds, and we're not doing pre-applications on people to disallow them to come in. You know, we're being inclusive because it is a warming shelter and it is a crisis situation. So very different than our regular daily operations where people might not be able to come in, because we do have children upstairs right now. So so yeah, but we with the extra security, we will make it work.
Trey, thank you for picking up. I got knocked out and apparently I've lost the chat as a result, but there are new questions popping up. One that was sent directly to me that I noticed before I got knocked out was from a Paul, and he wanted to know about, I'm assuming he might have joined late, about the arrangements with ACAP for the overflow shelter. So Heidi, could you please address how the overflow shelter concept works?
Sure. So basically, this is going to be fully led by HSA at this point. So nothing changes in regards to someone experiencing homelessness and needing to reach out to that entity first. So Lisa and her staff are going to do everything they can to house as many of the beds that they can. There is a capacity for 10 extra beds that they will use every night within the dining room area. Kind of a cot setup situation. When and if they get to 10 and over, we will be contacted to provide the additional overflow to support HSA in that endeavor, in which that would be anywhere from 25 to 30 people is what we would look at taking at our Edgemont facility right next door to HSA.
And could you also address the day component, the weekend day component?
Sure. So if we go into active need of hitting that 10 overflow slot, our services will be provided both at night from the 7 at night to 7 in the morning, and then we would provide Hope and Prosperity Center staff as well for the weekends to be able to provide those day services, which is all encompassing of supportive, accessing documents, accessing different things that are needed in order to move someone towards self-sufficiency. So housing applications, job applications, whatever is needed that person has that's a barrier, our staff will assist on the weekends if the overflow capacity goes into session. Hope and Prosperity Center is still open from 8 to 5 every day, Monday to Friday, regardless. And so that's where we're going in regards to that.
Great. Trey, I'm not sure if you see any other questions beyond the new ones that have just popped up, so I'll turn it back to you.
No, I think there were just a couple in there from Janet, but I think Heidi's response covered those questions. I hope that was clear.
Yep.
And outside of that, I don't see any others. So
Perfect.
So last call if nobody else has anything.
Oops, we just had a new one pop up, it appears, from Michelle Bell. Oh, just a thank you, Michelle, and yes, thank you to everyone who worked so hard on this.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time today, certainly, and your attention to this important conversation. And please stay safe out there in the impending storm. It's looking like a doozy. And looking forward to again continuing this important work here and on behalf of all of Aroostook County and Northern Maine. And so thanks one last time for everybody that came together on this and really did the right thing for the community and filled a need that was desperate. And I'm just so proud of everybody here, and I'm proud to say that Aroostook County is my home. This is why, right? This is why. So thank you all.
Thank you. We will be sending out the recording of this Zoom meeting and putting it out far and wide. So if you want to make other people aware of that, they can certainly download it. We'll put it on our Facebook presence as well as send it out to the same group of people who received the initial invitation. And we did max out participation at 100 at one point in this conversation. So I'm sure that some folks were unable to get in, so we'll share it far and wide. Again, thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.